Welcome back to Shadowboxing. My guest today is Mark McGowan, and we continue our discussion. People really concerned in the state, in the two-speed economy which we have, about the cost of living.
First of all, it's gotten a lot worse in recent years. The increases to electricity, 62%, water, 47%, gas, 57%. Each of those has put significant pressure on household budgets. I can't unwind everything. I can't take it all back. What I can do is targeted measures to make life easier for families. So we announced a policy to remove a 7% levy on people's electricity bills, which we will do.
What this levy is, how does it get into that?
It's a special levy called the Tariff Equalisation Contribution. It's on everyone across the state's electricity bill.
Small users, big users, everyone?
Business,
industrial?
Anyone who buys their electricity from Synergy or from Horizon Power will pay this 7% levy. So we will take that off and that reduces, compared to the government, people's power bills by 7%. And I've made that quite plain a number of times. So that is a significant saving for people. We have to find the savings to pay for that, of course, because we still want to keep a subsidy for country people's electricity. But it's a start, and there'll be a whole heap more policies to help people with cost of living. However, I can't unwind everything Mr Barnett has done to people's household budgets with these big increases in electricity, water and gas. What I can do is targeted initiatives to help families.
Yes, water supply. What is the plan for water supply and the solution for water for the state? For Perth mainly, because the state has got, in some part of the state, got too much water sometimes.
Yeah. We're very fortunate that we commenced the process to construct desalination plants when Jeff Gallop was Premier, and that means there's now 2 desalination plants which work very effectively and provide a large amount of the water for Perth and the southwest. That's a good thing. Dams are drying, underground water is problematic. In the northwest, you're correct, in some parts there's a lot of water, in other parts there's not.
Was it planned to building a pipeline to bring the water here, not just an open channel, Colin Barnett's plan, but a pipeline?
I wouldn't expect so.
No?
It's very expensive. It's too expensive.
Any estimate on that?
There was some costings of Mr Barnett's canal, which showed it was a $16 billion project. It would lift the cost of water for families 5-fold, so a 500% increase in your water bill. We're not going to do that. We don't want to put that sort of pressure on household budgets. What you need to have is diversity of supply of water and sensible measures to make sure people save water. So that's where we're going to focus. So it's got to be diversity and sensible savings measures.
Some people saying we got lots of rain in Perth and around the area, but the catchment area which we're using to collect the water is not maintained by the government, and therefore the water is not getting into the dams.
The fact is, rainfall has declined significantly in the last couple of decades, massively declined. So there's not actually plenty of rain in Perth. The other thing is, if you want to clear around the dams, clear all the undergrowth and the trees and so forth, that is a significant loss of bushland, of forest and the like. So I don't think there is really much appetite, certainly from me, to do that, because it only increases your supply or your catchment of water very marginally. So clearing all those forests, clearing all the beautiful nature around dams is not something on my agenda.
So that's not the solution.
It's not a solution anyway. It's a small amount of money. A small amount of water would be preserved.
And using the salt water or seawater to making it into drinkable water?
Well, that's a good idea. And there's 2 desal plants, both of which were either constructed or started by the former Labor government. That's a good idea. That gives you endless supply from a renewable source and powered by renewable energy. It's a good idea. Without that, Western Australia, Perth, would be in diabolical trouble. Thank God we did it. Against the objection, I might add, of Mr Barnett.
If you're going to be elected and you get into power, do you want to privatise the utilities, the gas, the electricity supply and the water supply?
Well, we won't be privatising government-owned utilities. There's already a privately owned gas distributor in Western Australia, Alinta Gas, that was privatised, funnily enough, by Mr Barnett in 1998. But we won't be privatising our utilities. We just think some things essential services should be run by the public. That's been the history of this country. It's quite an effective and efficient way of doing things, so we're happy with that.
Tourism. You mentioned tourism. Why people need to come here, and how do you think you can motivate them to come to Perth?
Well, tourism is a very important industry in Western Australia. It employs 72,000 of our citizens. A lot of small businesses rely upon the tourist trade. It's in big trouble, and there has been a considerable drop-off of tourists in Western Australia.
That's very true. That's why I'm trying to ask the question.
Range of reasons for that, range of reasons, but it has dropped off considerably in the last 4 years. I do think there needs to be a greater emphasis on marketing our regional areas, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne, and I think there needs to be a refocusing to get interstate tourists in here, not just business travellers. Business travellers are great, but what they don't do is they don't go to a lot of the small businesses around the place and spend their money. And so that's where tourists are good, or ordinary tourists are good, leisure tourists, because they spend a lot of their money on small businesses and cruises and dinners and wineries and the like. So those sorts of tourists are the ones we want. Now, we need to refocus back into those big markets of Sydney and Melbourne, and we actually need to encourage people from here to holiday at home more.
That's a very honourable idea. We got lots of resources still in the ground, and that's what we are selling. What do you think about the future of the resource industry and our relations with Asia, mainly with China?
Well, I support the mining industry. I just think we need to also have a more diverse economy than just mining. This state has got to be more than just mining. However, the mining industry will continue to be an important part of the state's economy. Our relationship with China will continue to be important. I do think we need to broaden our relationships out. There's too many eggs in the basket of China. Japan, our traditional trading partner, Indonesia, our closest neighbour, India, the emerging subcontinent, and of course our traditional relationship with the United States, which is actually the state's biggest investor. I think all of those places are being ignored to a degree, and I think we need to put a bit more emphasis into all of those places in addition to China. Now, China will continue to be important, and nothing I do will ever snub or denigrate that, but I just think there needs to be, at a state government level, a bit of a broadening in the relationships beyond China.
On that note, what do you think about the new aspect of the American-Australian relationship? Lots of talk about selling out the country and providing the new military bases for America, and became sort of Americanized and controlled by the United States.
Look, I haven't heard that aspect of it, what you're saying. All I heard was that there might be some more joint arrangements between Australia and the United States. What happened was, back in 1984, the US bases that were in Australia became jointly managed. So
yes, the
Australians became joint managers or operators of the existing US facilities. There's only two, and so the Australian and United States governments run them together. That's a difference in the relationship between before 1984.
That's correct.
Now, my view is, if US warships, if US troops
Island,
if they want to come here, that's great.
But they want to have a separate base for them, and much bigger than what they have in here.
No, I don't think that's right.
No?
No. That's my electorate. In fact, I lived on Garden Island for 3 years, so I'm quite familiar with it. It was my home. The United States will not have a base there. What they will do, potentially, is have more ship visits. Now, 20 years ago, when I was a naval officer at HMAS Stirling, there was a large number of US ship visits.
Yes.
These days, there's barely any.
And nuclear ship visits as well.
A lot of American ships, yeah, and,
yes,
and some of them were nuclear powered.
Yes.
Indeed, we still have aircraft carriers come and visit and anchor off Fremantle, probably one a year these days.
Yes.
Well, back when I was in the Navy, there was lots. It's actually declined significantly, which has gone unnoticed largely. But if that is reinvigorated to what it was 20 years ago, I have no difficulty. It's good for the economy. We have a long-standing defence relationship with the United States. I have no problem with that.
So you couldn't see any problem with more Americans in the shores of WA?
No. We've had Americans, ships coming here since 1942, and so it's never really caused a problem for me, and I think it's been good for the state.
But that's maybe how we see it, because we experienced it in the past 30 years, so we know what's went on. But probably the Chinese see it differently.
Well, Chinese warships have also visited Western Australia, again, I don't think people know that, and that hasn't been a problem. But I don't apologise, and I don't think Australia should apologise for a long-standing defence relationship with the United States, and I don't think we should worry about what other countries think of it. I think it's just a reality that that is our defence relationship, and other countries need to accept it. That's my view.
And other countries need to recognise that, yes.
We don't object to the relationship China has with North Korea. We don't object to the relationship China has with other countries. I think there's too much talk about this. I think they are mature people. They understand we have a relationship with the United States. We have a relationship with China. They're just different relationships, but very friendly relationships.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
And good luck for the elections.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being with us and watching Shadowboxing. See you next week, same time, same channel. Bye.